We are working in a culture, we are living in a culture that now, I believe, and I will say it, the Western world, Europe, United States, Canada, this is not normacy. We are living in a culture that is under divine wrath, that has been turned over to reprobation. And so what we're dealing with now is far greater than even what I described beforehand. Do you see this? There was a time when I could go on a university and I could reason with people. There was a time when the law of non-contradiction actually had an impact on the secular man. That's no longer the case. And this is not just because a bunch of teachers got together and taught against the idea of absolute truth. Our nation has been turned over. So if there ever was a time not to circle the wagons, but to trust in the power of the gospel, it is now. Nothing else is going to help you. There was a time in this culture back in the 90s when all you had to do was preach a conservative message about American traditional values and you could fill up churches, and they did. That's why a lot of preachers will stand before God and they will have to know what they did, that they built their enterprises on the bones of unconverted church members. But you can no longer build a church that way. No one wants Jesus unless the Spirit of God changes their nature. I want to read just quickly. Time is going by us, but for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Now look, are they victims? No, because that which is known about God is evident within them, for God made it evident to them. For since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. For even though they knew God, they did not honor Him as God or give thanks. But they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible man, and of birds, and of four-footed animals, and crawling creatures. And it goes on, further and further into moral decadence. But here's what I want you to see. When you see all the sins that are in Romans chapter 1, do not do what most people do. They see these sins and go, because of these sins, God's judgment is going to come on America. No! If you see these sins, God's judgment has already come on America. That's what you have to understand. Because the sin here, and this is what makes me so angry, the great sin here is not what you think. It is not what men do to themselves or what men do to men. The great sin here is, although they knew God, they did not want Him. You need to understand something. There is nothing, no one more precious to God than is His Son. Everything God has ever done, He has done it for His Son. Your salvation was done for His Son. He's gathering a people for His Son. In the mind of God, everything has to do with His Son. So the great sin of America, the great sin of Europe, centuries of gospel preaching, rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection of the one who is most precious in the eyes of God, His Son. And that is why any attempt to make this country conservative again, or great again, or anything else will fail. Because God is concerned about one thing, and it's not a thing, it's a person, it's His Son. To be right with God, whether you're an individual or a nation, it has to do with loving His Son.